Welcome to the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast, where we don't take from insurance companies. Here are your hosts, Mr. Jordan Comstock and Mr. Ben Tuine.
Welcome to another episode of the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast. Our current series is Say No to PPOs. We have an exciting guest with us today, Mike Pedersen. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Ben. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's great to have you on the program today. The reason why I invited Mike with the Say No to PPOs series is because I get asked questions constantly from our clientele, that specifically the clientele that we're asking to drop certain PPO plans is, what are we going to do for marketing? It's unfortunate these days that a lot of dental practices think that PPO participation equals marketing. While that may be somewhat true, it is not 100% true. So Mike Pedersen, he's an expert when it comes to marketing. He has a pretty unique story that I'm going to let him speak about. But Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started in dental, and how you got started in marketing in general?
Thanks, Ben. Well, it started back in 2000. In my previous life, I was a professional fitness trainer that is. I was an athlete my whole life and almost made the Olympic Games in the decathlon back in '88.
Wow.
So that was my claim to fame, but that was a long time ago. But that passion for fitness, still today I work out 6 days a week. But so that passion for fitness, then I picked up this crazy game called golf. Golf, and it just sucked me in, hook, line, and sinker. And what I found out was that having been had this fitness background, I could hit the ball a long way, and people always ask me, how do you hit it so far, and all these things, and then I got asked that all the time. And I wasn't a great golfer, although I took it very serious. I was about a 6 handicap, something like that, which is, anytime you're in single digits, you're decent. But anyways, and so this question just kept coming up over and over and over, and I came back to my wife one day. I said, God, everybody's asking me, and I said, it's my fitness. That's what it is. I'm more flexible because I exercise. I'm stronger and all that. Long story short, I decided to launch the world's very first golf fitness membership website back in 2000.
Wow.
And it was the world's first. There was nothing like it on the internet. And I had a partner that had launched a fitness membership website that was a multi-7-figure business. And he was only 21, 22 years old at the time. So this guy was just incredible, and it was great to have him as a partner because he kind of sped up the learning curve for me. And we launched this website, and I ran it by myself for almost 10 years and turned that into a 7-figure business by myself on the internet, all on the internet, selling $20 to $50 golf products, Ben. $20 to $50. That's it. And built a subscribership of 72,000 email subscribers, not members. I wish it was members because that would have been an 8-figure business if it was 72,000 paid members. So in 2008, something happened. I'm sure you're going to remember something about 2008, the financial crash.
Right.
And I saw that online business plummet 80% in 6 months.
Wow.
6 months. Yeah, 6 months. And being an entrepreneur, I wrote it out for a year and a half because I thought, this is what I do. This is me. I shoot videos on the internet. I've had one of the biggest golf channels on YouTube. Actually, it's still one of the biggest today, and I haven't filmed a video for years now, but it's got like 4 million combined views and crazy numbers, real crazy numbers. But so I thought, what do I do now? And I thought, God, I've made a living on the internet. I know how to get customers online. And I thought, wow, why don't I take this offline? Businesses need help, and I didn't really know how to go about it. I talked to a few people. I kind of dug out my resources a little bit and started picking people's brains. And then I met a couple of people in dental just haphazardly here in Scottsdale, just by chance, and had a coffee meeting with a couple of them that lasted 4 hours. It was supposed to go 15 minutes and went 4 hours. And these particular people decided to bring me on as their digital marketer for all of their clients. So instantaneously, my business was built. And that was back in like 2012-ish, something like that, 2011, 2012. And we've been honing the business ever since. And that's what got me into this crazy business of dental marketing.
That's pretty cool. And I understand you have a podcast of your own. Is that right?
Yes, and sir, you were supposed to be the guest on my podcast today, but you've got a little bit of a sickness over there, and you're a trooper, even doing it. You flipped it on me and said, will I be your guest? And I thought, oh crap. Well, I've done enough podcasts. I think I can handle it. So sure, let's go with it.
No, you're good. You're good. I appreciate you being a guest on our podcast. Our podcast is very new. The reason why I think you're so relevant to this type of the type of doctor and team member that's listening to this is because people do struggle with marketing. But the interesting thing is I never really knew how search engine optimization, how relevant that was to dentistry. I always thought that search engine optimization and the internet was reserved for the big clientele, the 50 million views, the Nordstroms out there that are marketing to 500,000
Absolutely.
residents.
We've got
But you
our
do
success rate's
SEO
pretty
very
cool. I was
well.
just thinking about this
And
the
my
other
question
day.
to you, Mike, is, does
We're
it
a
really
boutique
work for
firm, but
dental?
we're growing pretty rapidly over here, and we're pretty hands-on with all of our clients. But 87% of our clients are on the first page of Google right now for multiple terms. 87%. Yeah, I just did those numbers the other day, and the 13% are on page 2 for some of their terms. But I want to clarify the whole idea of rankings, and we'll get into that a little bit as far as, because that's kind of, I don't want dentists to be thinking SEO is all about just ranking for Chicago dentist. It goes way. There's a strategy behind SEO, and if you work with a good SEO company, they'll spend a lot of time with you really determining the approach. And obviously, we put our expertise in the mix, but we're going to pick the brain of the dentist on the certain services that they're going after, the demographics of the area, and then the great thing about SEO is content. And it's unfortunate. I just did a blog post yesterday about it, and I just sat down, and an hour and a half later had a 1,000-word blog post done, and I didn't look up. Cracked open the laptop and started typing, and an hour and a half later it was done, and it's actually live on the website. But it really comes down to a mix of content and then all the other ranking factors of backlinking, getting links for the website to show more authority, and on-page optimization, and which we see just a lot of mistakes with, the majority of the dental websites that we do our digital assessments on. We just see some, really tremendous mistakes that are really hurting these dentists from ever getting, found on the internet. So yes, SEO does work.
Thanks for mentioning that, because a lot of the clientele that we have, they have beautiful websites. I don't know who they're using for search engine optimization, but I actually do ask my clients, or any doctor that is looking to ask us about our podcast or ask us about our services. One of the questions I ask is, what's the source of your new patients? And the reason why I ask that is I want to know if they're getting new patients primarily from insurance carriers, or if they're obtaining patients from their own means, their own marketing, internal referrals, external marketing. Well, a lot of our clientele says that the majority of their patients come as a result of them being in network with some type of plan. And I think that's very, very dangerous, because when we talk about this insurance-driven mentality, meaning insurance controls what the patient receives in terms of treatment. And I know a lot of doctors don't like to hear that, but the reality is you place a composite on a posterior tooth, the insurance only pays an amalgam. And so essentially they're controlling exactly what the perception is of treatment that the patients get. And it hurts the cost that the doctors incur to deliver treatment, as well as the reimbursements that they get. This whole insurance-driven mentality, in my opinion, it's poisonous. So the source of your new patients is really key. And that way you have some understanding of who's controlling the perception when the patients come in. So
Ben, that's a loaded question, and it's a great it's a great question, though. It's a very legitimate question, but the answer is we don't know. Any legitimate search engine optimization company out there, we don't have a crystal ball to Google. We don't have some meter that we turn on and say, at the click of this, clock in 4.2 weeks, you'll be on the first page of Google and your website traffic will triple. We don't know, but I've been doing this for so long, and I did it for my golf site, and actually my golf site was ranked for hundreds of terms in the world globally. So that gives me an edge to get local dentists ranked, right? Because if I can rank globally in the world for really big terms, how to fix my slice, and things like that, then I got a pretty good shot at getting dentists ranked in their cities for sure. So I'm very fortunate that I've paid my dues with search engine optimization. But there's so many factors, Ben. One would be how competitive is your city. And the ADA came out with a number, and I always come back to this number when I get on the phone with a dentist, which is I look at their population, and per capita, per 100,000 population, the ADA says there's between 60 and 80 dentists per 100,000. 60 to 80. Oh yeah. And and the great thing is when I have these phone calls, I don't profess that number.
Wow.
I want them to kind of confirm
That's
it.
a lot.
And so I'll ask them, right? And sometimes the dentists don't know. They don't know how many dentists are in their city, but they can kind of guess. And I'll just say, I'll look at their population. So let's say it's 100 and 100,000, and I'll turn to the dentist on the phone and I'll just say, so can I safely say there's 60, 70 competing dentists in your city? And they'll say, oh yeah, or no, more. We've got probably close to 100, and there's that range by the ADA right there, 60 to 80, and sometimes not very often, but sometimes I hear 100. So getting back to SEO, the more competitive it is, the longer it takes to rank, because probably the top 8 to 10 positions in a city like that, like let's say 100,000, they all have an SEO company. And does that mean they have a good SEO company? Maybe, maybe not. Can we knock them off? Sure. Absolutely, but so competitiveness of the area is a key factor. Second thing would be, what's your current situation? Like what's your on-page optimization? Is your website laid out for Google best practices for 2016? And 95% of the time it isn't when we look at a website. When we do our digital assessment, 95% of the time it is not. It's typically what we call under-optimized. And very rarely, but sometimes we see the old school SEO where it's way over optimized, where it's just loaded full of keywords. It doesn't even read like a human being wrote it. The content's just horrible on it. So that would be the second factor, is what's your current situation. And we had a dentist out of Virginia that unfortunately had a bad experience with an SEO company, probably one of the worst I've ever heard. And they were in a small area, truthfully, a small area, and they weren't even cracking page 10 in Google. Page 10, and Ben, it even gets worse. They were paying $2,000 a month, that's about standard for SEO in a competitive town. In a town like that, that's a bit much. So they'd had this company for 10 months, and their best ranking was page 10. And the dentist heard me on a podcast and called me desperately and said, can you help me? And I just said, well, let me take out your website. And I got my SEO team member doing some backlink checking. And of course, the SEO company did some horrible things that basically got him penalized in Google. And he turned to me and asked me the question you just asked. He goes, can you help, and how long will it take? And I said, I cannot guarantee you a result. You're beyond page 10 in a small town. What this company did, I said, it's going to take us 3 months just to clean it up. Just to clean up the mess, which is all these bad links that this website, this SEO company got. They were basically almost de-indexed from Google. They were showing up, but for nothing, and it was beyond page 10. Long story short, we did exactly what we said. 3 months of kind of cleanup, kept trying to give him some progress, really wasn't cracking anything, nothing was happening. Month 4, page 8. And it was kind of, hey, let's celebrate. Month 5, page 6. Long story short, within 6 months, we are now on page 1 for all of his terms. And he's beside himself, absolutely beside himself. But so that took 6 months in a small town, though. And that was a practice and website that was pretty much truly penalized. So I was very, very happy with that result. And he's, of course, ecstatic, and he's already sending referrals our way, which is great for our business. So yeah, the time, we can't give the answer on time, but I always do say, give us 6 months to put a dent in it, And if at that point you don't like what we've done for you, then we can part ways and no hard feelings, but we'll have put them in a position that's gaining momentum. So even if they left us after 6 months, we've put them in a position that they're gaining momentum.
That's pretty great. Mike, I've often wondered how important an online presence is for any dental practice. And last week when I was in Colorado, I gave a presentation on how the 7 steps to negotiating with insurance carriers. Part of those 7 steps is assessing whether you need to retain your plans, add more third-party peer plans, or a big one is, or if you need to drop some of these plans. And it often becomes, for most doctors, that they're ready to drop some of these third-party peer plans that are just not paying well. And a key factor in the analysis part that I help these doctors with is understanding where their patients are coming from and what their perception is. So one of the questions I ask is, when a patient calls, what's the first question they
exactly.
ask?
The
That first
insurance
question is, these
question.
patients call and essentially say, do you participate with Aetna, or do you participate with Delta? Right. And I find that a lot of practices say no. Actually, a lot of the patients call and they say, hey, I read your website and it says that you're offering this. And I'm calling to take advantage of one of the offerings on your website. To me, that's key, because at that point, patients finding you on your website, or maybe even finding you on their insurance website, but going to your website or online to validate and verify that you are a good doctor and that you're accepting new patients. But then you can control some of the message or some of the perception that the patient has before they even get to your practice. So my question is, SEO, why is it relevant? And what are some tips, if it is relevant, what are some tips that you can help these doctors understand
Another great question, sir.
their online
Well, as
presence
you
is
know,
with
we
SEO, or
all
just having a
turn to
general
Google, right?
ranking on
I
Google,
mean,
Yelp, or any of
some
the
people
other search
use,
engines?
Bing, not too many, and so Yahoo, some of these other smaller search engines, but the majority is Google. And if we're looking for something local, we typically, in the comfort of our own home, at our leisure, pretty much, we'll get on Google and search for that service. And that's pretty across the board now. And now it's even over 50% of local searches is via mobile. So dentists out there listening, go take a look at your mobile site on a phone, especially on a phone. iPad, it's pretty easy for a normal website that's not mobile optimized to somewhat adapt to an iPad, because that's a small computer screen. But go see what it looks like on your phone, and just imagine over 50% of local searches are done on mobile devices. And boy, I can tell you right now, I'd say probably 70% of the calls that we take from dentists do not have a mobile optimized website. 70%. And and people, their expectations are so high now when they're searching on the internet that there's 2 expectations. One would be, if they're on the phone, they want a good user, well, both, they want a good user experience, but on the phone, they don't want to see a scrunched up website that they have to spread with their fingers, 10 times to read anything. They want to see some, where are you located? Where's your phone number? Is there maybe a 60-second video I can watch on my phone? Those quick things. So there's some tips for you right there for dentists is, make sure your mobile site has quick and easy reference to their location, quick and easy button or just phone number that they can click and call, a video that they can watch right on their phone, because everybody's used to watching video on the phone, and the user experience for video on the phone is not too bad. You just turn it horizontal and it expands the video and it looks fine. So if you had just those 3 things prominently on the home page of your mobile device, mobile website, you're good to go. That's for mobile. The experience on the desktop is one that, if you've got an outdated, or what we call, unfortunately, a cookie cutter website, when people land on it, they're going to make a quick decision about your practice right there. And that goes in. I know this talk isn't about SEO or not about web design, but I have to kind of put that in there a little bit, that it all starts with your website when you talk about online presence. It just does. Because, even, we hear a lot of stories where, a mom will be at like a soccer game and another mom just moved into the area and she says, hey, I'm looking for a dentist. And they'll say, hey, our dentist is Dr. Johnson. Well, what do you think that mom's going to do right away? She's going to go home and try to Google him. And number one, could you imagine if they couldn't find him? That's not a good sign, right? So if they do have bad SEO, they're going to be like, well, I can't even find this dentist.
Right.
That's making me question. Or if they do find the practice, they'll land on the website and they'll take a quick 5-second look and they'll make the decision on if they like what they see to spend more time on that website. So SEO, it's sort of it's a necessary marketing tool if you want to attract patients from the internet. It just is, and it's kind of a cost of doing business. And if you don't do it, your competitors are, and they're going to get all those phone calls.
Yeah. You talked about patients logging onto a website and immediately not having a good feel or good taste for that website. I'm sure a lot of it maybe has to do with color scheme, maybe has to do with how generic the website does, but what about content? I mean, how does content come into play? And the reason why I ask you this, Mike, is because part of our goal and objective when we acquire a new patient, we want to make sure that it's a good patient that is not fed a mentality that they're going to come to the practice and get all kinds of discounts from their insurance. Our goal is first and foremost to make sure that the clients come in and they know that they're going to have good quality care, period. Mm-hmm. How does content play into SEO?
Yeah, content's huge. And content is the new SEO for 2016, and it has been for the last couple of years. But and they call it content marketing, and we've got some great writers that write all the content for our clients. But the content on your website should serve one purpose: answer the visitor's questions as concisely and simply as it can. And when you do that, Google rewards you with better rankings. That's not the only ranking factor. There's 200 ranking factors. There's even more than that, but there's 200 ranking factors. So if we want to cover all those, that could be about a 10-part SEO series that we'll do. But the content, it's very, very simple. So for every service you have as a dentist, you've got probably half a dozen to a dozen questions that you get asked about that service from a patient. Answer those questions in your content. And the bad part about dental websites that I'm seeing over and over and over again is that the content was provided by a company, and maybe it was the web design company, and the dentist said, great, we get it all in one shot. I don't have to worry about any of the... Well, it's called duplicate content. It's on 500 other dental websites. Google hates duplicate content, and it's not branded for you. It's not talking in your voice. Right? And that's what we always try to get dentists is, what makes you different than the dentist right next door to you? Not even down the block. Right next door, you've got a competitor. I see it on the Google Maps. You've got a competitor that I could reach out and touch right now. What makes you different from them? And it's going to be through the words on your website. And unfortunately, with all that canned cookie cutter content that Google hates anyways, people are not going to resonate with it. It's not answering questions. Most of that type of content that we see is all about the dentist. It's just, we've done veneers for 16 years and we this, we that, we this, we that, and you haven't answered one question of the visitor. The visitor is not going to make a connection with your practice. They're going to hit the back button and go to the next competitor.
Thanks for sharing. The other question I was going to ask, does it help to have stories from other patients? I see a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
I personally don't like to go in a dental practice and see bloody gums.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you see the before and afters. It's like, who the hell wants to see like gums that are completely tore up and, exposed extractions? But does it help to have real patient life stories?
Yes.
Things that have happened to other people before and after, but not the goriness that you see in some of the practices.
Absolutely.
Or does the gory help?
No, the gory does not help. People, the majority of people out there fear the dentist anyways, right? Most of them do, whether it's back from their childhood, getting drilled the first time or whatever it is. People have this fear of going there anyways, even all the way through adulthood. So no, it does not help. And, I have to laugh. Dentists listening, please listen to this statement right now. Social media, and that's a whole nother topic we can talk about, but do not show gnarly pictures of a before and after for dentures or dental implants. I'm sorry, don't do it. Can you imagine your feed on Facebook? You're scrolling through and you're seeing all your friends and they're traveling around the world and they're taking pictures of their backyard, springtime, and then boom, there's that before shot of just a horrific open mouth close-up shot of just the most anyways. No. Yeah. So those pictures, Ben, do not help. But what does help is video testimonials, and we do video marketing with our firm as well, and we can show dentists how to do it very easily with their smartphones. But video testimonials are super high converting marketing strategies for sure, where you just get the patient for like 60 seconds, and don't be asking them questions. I had a dentist, God bless him, and I had him change his approach, but he sat there asking the questions. It just looked very scripted. It was very awkward. Just tell them, hey, just here's our smartphone. We're going to turn it on, and just tell us your experience with the practice and how you feel about the results. That's it. Right there, done. And that's a 60-second video. And those convert like 10 to 1 over content, over text, 10 to 1.
Yeah.
So video
that's what
is huge.
Yeah. That's what I look at when I go to Amazon to purchase things. That's the type of shopper I am.
There you go.
I read through the shorter testimonials, but if there's a video, I would say 100% of the time, as long as it's not a 10-minute video testimonial, I take a look at the video because I want to have good relevant experience from some other people that may have tried this product, or in this case, use this dental practice. So Mike, a lot of our clients come to us and they're looking to drop insurance plans. It's the right time for them, and we help them with that. Not every practice is a good candidate to drop plans, but we have a large number of clients that can drop 10 plans, retain 3 or 4 or maybe even 1. But the fear is, if I drop these plans, I'm gonna eliminate my opportunity to capture new patients. So I was reading an article American Dental Association put out about how the average dental practice, this is one doctor, average dentist brings in about 17 new patients per month. Mm-hmm. Most practices require between 17 to 30 new patients a month to keep on the growth trend that they want. Is this type of marketing, is it real? I mean, is it something that they could use to potentially replace their traditional in-network participation marketing that most doctors feel like they have to do?
Absolutely. And again, you're asking an SEO guy that question. So of course but I'm an honest, authentic guy too. So I mean, I really would give you the honest answer. But I mean, I'm definitely pro SEO, just because people search the internet when they're looking for local services. And one of the big opportunities, one of the questions I always ask Dennis on the phone is how transient, or how are you in a growing area? I mean, do you have people moving in the area? A great example is my sister has three daughters, kind of ages 14. Actually, one daughter graduated Pepperdine and she's out now, but she moved to Idaho. And she, within days, is typical of my sister too, by the way, but within days, got on the internet and started looking for all the doctors. And so what the greatest opportunity, one of the greatest opportunities for a dentist in any city is capturing those people that just moved in the area. They don't know anybody, right? They don't know anybody at the schools yet. They haven't met anybody. They don't even know their neighbors yet. They're going to, quickly get on the internet looking for, the doctors and all the services and landscapers and all that. That's a great, so yes, that alone, just the people moving into the area, that can bring in X number of patients per month, depending on the population and the search volume of that area. But to give you a good example, we've got a dentist here in Chandler, Arizona, that we've quadrupled the number of new patients from the internet for them in 7 months.
Wow.
Quadrupled, and they track it really closely. And I got the nice text message from the office manager a couple of months back saying, hey, I just want to give you our numbers, and she gave me the numbers, and she's like, keep doing what you're doing. So yeah, and that's, again, should we do a disclaimer there that we cannot promise that for every dental practice out there, but the potential is there, just because, common sense says that people are going to get on the internet and search. And if you've set up your website correctly and you've done the content, kind of like we briefly talked about, we could spend a whole episode talking about content strategies and marketing and all that good stuff with content. But if you've done everything correctly, yes, you could easily see that same number of patients, if not more.
I believe that we're in a digital age. I mean, if the newspapers are going out of business, that's just a sign that people are flocking to online. We have everybody's dug in their cell phone, looking at Facebook all day long, Pinterest, Yelp, you name it. To me, I wasn't a really big believer that search engine optimization was relevant until I met you and until I started to interview other clients. I'll even mention, you probably know who Gary Takis is.
Yep.
He's the guy that built the very first podcast. I was interviewed on his podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've been following Gary for years. Gary does not participate with any third-party payer plan. They just dropped Delta within the last year.
Mm-hmm.
But they still just through their organic marketing, having that awesome online presence that they have. I think they're ranked #1 when you Google dentists in the Phoenix metro area. They're right there on the top, and they get it. I believe, and don't hold me to this, but I believe the last time I heard, Gary was acquiring anywhere between 35 to 50 new patients per month. The great thing about that is that those patients come in off of your own marketing, and they're not tied to that insurance-driven mentality. The one question I get asked a lot, Mike, when doctors say, if I drop these insurance plans, patients call and they ask if I'm in network with the plan that they have, what should I say? Well, I think there are normal scripts that you can go through that work very well. Most offices say that we accept every insurance plan within our office, and that's not being deceiving. But when the patients ask and they drill down, well, no, I want to know if you're in network, and you absolutely have to say no. That's fine. You can say, well, we're not in network, but here's what we can do for you. You can come in and experience who we are, the quality dentistry that we provide. If you don't like us, we won't file your visit to your dental insurance. If it's a cleaning that we provide or exams and x-rays, we hope that you like us, but if you don't, we simply won't file it to your insurance carrier. You can go back to your regular dentist or to another dentist in the area. That script alone, we give that script to all of our doctors that are dropping insurance plans that are, they're looking for guys like you to do their marketing, which, we're going to let you share your contact information because I believe people should reach out to you. But the whole goal with this is to, number one, let the patients experience who you are. And once they receive that wow factor about how great your practice is, 9 out of 10 patients will stay with the practice or will at least allow you to bill their insurance, which is a huge number. So Mike, closing thoughts, any last tips for the doctors in terms of how marketing can be, or in this case, search engine optimization can be a huge asset to their practice?
Well, again, you would have to like reach through the screen and shake me to stop me from talking about it because I can go.
I like it.
but the one thing I was going to say, and this again could be a whole nother topic, but do dentists need to understand one thing? If they're working with a current SEO company or they're considering one, just make sure that you come up with a strategy. It's not all about ranking for city dentist. People are more sophisticated with their search abilities now. And it's called the long tail keyword phrases. And I can give you dozens and dozens of stories of how we've done this for our clients. But people, they're human beings. And so if they've got a need, a dental or oral need, they're going to type in a specific thing like, why does my tooth hurt when I eat food? It's not being so stuck on that kind of the old school SEO of these, what we call keyword phrases. Yes, they're important, but Google now is really rewarding websites, and we're talking about dental websites here because of the podcast, but they're rewarding websites on the content that they write and create, and it's got to be uniquely written, not copied anywhere on the internet, and it's got to specifically answer the question that the visitors have. If it does, you will start ranking for those long tail phrases from this great content that was created, and you're going to get a very serious, quote, buyer when they type in a phrase like that. When somebody types in Chicago dentist, right, for instance, and that's one of the biggest cities in the country, but anyways, that's not a real, they're sniffing around. They're just, I'm maybe thinking about going to the dentist. I'm not sure. I hate my smile. I'm not really sure, but let me just, and then you type in some big general term like that. But if somebody types in a real specific term, female dentist, in Phoenix, Arizona, there's another sort of long tail phrase. And if you're a female dentist and you've got some content that got you ranked in Google, you are going to potentially get that patient from your content. So really be thinking about the content you produce and answering all the questions, and you're going to get picked up for those long tail phrases. And don't be so fixated on, the rankings of these real general terms like, Chicago dentist, Chicago cosmetic dentist, Chicago veneers. People don't search like that anymore. They search with more specific phrases now. So that would be the last thing I say in closing that I think is really, really important.
I think that's really awesome. I was just thinking about a client that I have in Florida, and her husband is a physician, and they purchased a laser to do pain-free dentistry. They started marketing pain-free dentistry.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, I'm sure they did search engine optimization, but they get patients from Europe that fly in, clear in from overseas
How cool is
to
that?
come in. I know, and those their average cases from
Oh
the
boy.
European clients are $35,000.
Yep.
She called me one day when she said, we just did a $20,000 full the 2 arches. They did all on 4 procedures, but it was extensive work. The patient wanted specific type of dentures. I believe that. I just thinking about my own clientele who have used those key long phrases and how that works. So the key question here, Mike, is there are people that are listening now that may need the help. Like, what are you offering? How can you help these people?
What we do is we do a digital assessment, and we've really kind of honed it, and it's with me typically. Every once in a while, if I get too busy and I'm hard to schedule, I'll get one of my assistants to do it as well. But I like to do those. I like to have that initiate that first contact, and we do a digital assessment of your online presence and your website, and we do it free of charge, and we will completely analyze your website. We'll go look at your online presence. We'll even do an SEO profile on you, and we'll do all that background work. Then we'll get on the phone with you, and we'll discuss what we found, and then we'll give you the options of what you can do to make it better. And then at that point, with no pressure, if we're a good fit, we start to work together. If we're not, then you're armed with a lot of good information that can kind of educate you on the right questions to ask the next marketing company. It would hope you work with us, but sometimes it just happens that way. But so I think what I could tell your listeners is, that digital assessment, no cost, no pressure, no high sales, no hounding you afterwards every day on the phone or sending emails to you. We're growing at a rapid rate, so we're pretty happy over here. So we're not in a situation of high pressure sales. But that digital assessment is a real eye opener for the dentist, and it's got a lot of value. I'd like to think it's very, very valuable. So that's what we're willing to do for all of your listeners out there. And they just need to go to the website and fill out one of our little simple forms, and we'll get back to them.
Very good. And can you spell your website out so that the listeners know? And we'll post this to the bottom, excuse me, to the bottom of this podcast as well, so visitors can click on that. But go ahead and phone numbers and websites, any way that they can contact you.
Yeah, the website is thedentalboost.com. So it's the word the, second word dental, third word boost, BOOST.com. The toll-free number is 866-500-1414. And, I love to talk to dentists. I hear lots of, crazy stories and lots of exciting opportunities. This is the marketing in the new era. 2016, it's digital marketing, and we love what we do, and we love helping dentists get more patients, and we look for partnerships. I don't like to think that we're a vendor. I hate that word. I mean, I guess in straight terms you could call us that, but I like to really become the marketing partner for the dentist. So that's what we look to achieve when we get brought on with the practice.
Mike, I think you're the real deal. So go to thedentalboost.com, click on Get a Free Assessment, which is the orange button right when you log onto that page. Mike, this has been so incredible. We'd love to have you come back on for future podcasts, and perhaps we will, you and I will meet about that afterwards. But I think a lot of the information that you shared is very valuable. So thank you, Mike. Appreciate your time today, folks. Check out Mike's website, thedentalboost.com. Call him, reach out to him. And if you're looking to drop PPOs while you're pairing some effective marketing through Mike, give us a call, and we'd also like to help put you down the right path in terms of things to look out for as you separate yourself from this poisonous insurance mentality. Again, Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.